Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to our first ever live international podcast from Lund University. My name is Megan Phillips. I am originally from Seattle, USA, but I moved here in 2023 to do my master's in applied cultural analysis at Lund University. I've now graduated and I'm working at the Office of Global Student Recruitment with the university, and I am super excited to be talking with our panelists today. So I'll start by saying thank you to the organizers of Sustainability Week for allowing us to host this event. Today, we are going to be exploring a little bit about what sustainable living looks like for international students in Lund. And that comes down to habits that are included in our daily choices, but oftentimes it comes down to things that kind of are decided by living in Sweden. So your transport, your daily lunch choices, things along those lines. We'll discuss how sustainability shapes everyday life for international students living here in Lund and how it offers a little bit of a different rhythm. So we'll have time at the end for Q&A. So keep your questions if you have any. I know our panelists would love to answer them. But in the meantime, I think it'd be great to start with some introductions. So if you guys could give us your name, where you're from, and what you're studying.
So I'm Leonie. I'm from Germany, and I moved here in also 2023 to study the bachelor's in biomedicine. I'm currently finishing up the thesis, so yeah.
Hello, I am Fabio from southern Italy, and I moved here actually in 2020 to do my bachelor's, then I did my master's, and I graduated last year. And I work at the Deon Science Park, which is a startup incubator open for every Lund University student.
Great. Hi everyone, I am Sumaia, and I am a second-year master's student, and my program name is Molecular Biology, Microbiology, and Biotechnology.
Perfect. Hey, and I'm Freja. I'm from Denmark, and I'm currently doing my master's in literature, culture, and media with a specialization in English literature. I'm also finishing up my thesis now, so on the last leg of it.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining me today. To start us off, I think it's always a fun experience when you step into a country for the first time and immediately you're just kind of taken aback by all the many culture shocks. So for you guys, can you think of something upon arriving in Lund, something sustainability related that genuinely surprised you?
I think, so I came here during the pandemic, which was an interesting time. Everything was actually open, which was really, really nice in some sense, of course, but in others a bit less. But anyway, when I came here, I think what really was most interesting from a sustainability perspective is the amount of the food options that one has when it comes to vegetarian and vegan options, that they were so accessible. They were just so easy. There was so many new things that I didn't see and that tasted good, and so it felt good also to make that choice, to make that sustainable choice. And I think also whenever I saw in the cafeteria here at the uni, at cafes, restaurants, it was just very accessible.
I would also love to share my first sustainability experience. So I basically arrived in the arrival day, and I have like 3-4 luggages with me, basically like my whole life. And then I couldn't be able to go to all the LU events, like where they're giving us bedding and other necessary things. So at night I was like, no, I don't have pillow, I don't have necessary stuff, what I would do. And at the time, one of my home country friends, he told me, he used to live in Delphi, and he told me, okay, let's check the green room. And I was like, green room, what is it? What is this? And then we went there, and I was super lucky. So I got a pillow and blanket and everything. So yes, first time experiencing sustainability kind of helped me. So yes.
And for those of us living outside of Delphi, what is the green room?
Yeah, so green room is basically when students leave stuffs which they don't need, and then other students who just grab the stuffs who need them. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a nice thing.
There is nothing more humbling than arriving to a European country for the first time and dragging your suitcases over cobblestone. Nice that they had pillows available for you.
Yeah, I think for me, it's not super different since Germany is quite close, and it's also quite a sustainable country, I would say. So it has a lot of similarities, like what the food options are, that we just cycle a lot. But I got a cycle culture shock here, and I'm from Germany and I cycle a lot. So I think you can really, when you walk around in Lund and just like live here, you can really feel that, okay, if you don't have a bike, I don't know what you're doing. Doesn't work.
Definitely. I mean, it's kind of the same for me. I'm from Denmark, so this is kind of my culture, and I'm used to recycling in the same way and living, I guess, the same level of sustainable in my daily life. But something specific to Lund was that when I arrived, I was very shocked at how the international community here, which is super huge, we have a lot of international students here, and just a lot of international citizens, and they all sort of adapt the same lifestyle as the Swedes do, which I wasn't necessarily expecting, to meet so many international students who got really into thrifting or to cook for the first time in their lives, because they come from different cultures where it's not normal for them to cook, and suddenly they're cooking vegan foods in the corridor rooms in the evenings and going thrifting on the weekends. And that was sort of a nice way to see how adaptable people are and how much this is just the way of life here, that everyone sort of gets into it.
I remember one of my big shocks after kind of moving in was actually when it came time to throw away my trash for the first time, because I'm from the US, so we have, 1 to 3 options for trash and waste recycling, which is not the case in Sweden.
Yeah.
Have you guys felt those habits around waste recycling and consumption change a little bit as well?
I used to got so confused actually, like where to throw what. But yeah, I mean, now I'm good. But yeah, it's like feel great.
Yeah, I thought Germany is good at recycling. Then I arrived here and I was like, oh, you also take the paper and the like actual a carton. Like, that's 2 different things. Okay.
And I actually read somewhere that they, like in Sweden, they recycle 90% like house waste. So which is great. I mean, yeah.
And they use it to make energy. Like it was a big article that came out and it was saying,
biogas, I think, right?
Yeah, Sweden is buying trash from other countries to produce energy.
Yeah, that's great.
Outside of that, you guys mentioned your diets a little bit. I used to eat a lot more meat back home than I do here. So have you felt your diets have changed since moving to Sweden?
Exactly. Yeah, no, a lot. I mean, as I said before, yeah, I think that was one of the biggest changes is that everything is accessible and it's good, and it's good food. I mean, coming from Italy, I'm saying that it's right. I can approve of the vegetarian and vegan choices here. I think there are, and the fact that it also in general there's a lot of talk about it. Also, it's not like there is. In some countries, there might be even some pushback. We're seeing some pushback against eating, vegan, vegetarian. But I think here it's supported and it's nice. And I think you get that choice in every for example, all over Lund University, throughout every cafeteria place of the university itself, you make that choice. And there's always a lot of student events that I've gone to, some nations. Some of the nations that I know that they cater firstly. They first give like a vegetarian option, and then you are able to ask for a meat one. It's like, now the vegetarian option is kind of like a special kind of a dietary requirement kind of. But now it's the opposite in some of these nations where you need to say, okay, I would like meat instead of a vegetarian. And it makes the choice easier also.
Definitely. And just the fact that it's always an option. You will never go anywhere in Lund where there's not a vegetarian or vegan option. And that maybe seems like a small thing also for me coming from a Scandinavian country, but it's not. It's not the norm everywhere else. And it's exactly that. It makes it so easy to then, okay, well, I'll go with the vegan option today. That's what's on the menu, that's what's written first or whatever. And it's in the nations, it's in the cafeterias, it's in the supermarkets, it's all the falafel places that are all over town. That is the go-to fast food. Exactly. And I don't exaggerate, that is the go-to fast food of every young person in this town. And so it's just sort of it's an easy everyday thing, I feel like.
And they also look lucrative because I'm also a big meat lover. So like if I'm going to do a grocery shopping, obviously my eyes will be like chicken, beef and this kind of stuff. But then I saw like really some like plant-based meals looks yummy. So I just like, okay, why not trying them? And then, so I think I also started eating a lot of plant-based meals now. So yeah.
Oh, it is very nice. I mean, I was also plant-based before moving to Sweden, so it's really nice because then okay, you have that secure that you will get what you need, like from the options in the supermarkets and stuff. But I was actually a little bit surprised because I think most of the plant-based people I know in Lund are more international students than Swedish students often. I don't know if you've had the same experience, but that's kind of what I've picked up on. So I think it shows that the international students are also really a driving force of sustainability in this city also.
I even picked up the habit from my Swedish friends who are not vegan or vegetarian, but they say, oh, well, once or twice a week I try to eat vegetarian. So, and there's so many good options, it's not a sacrifice for them. And so I've tried to pick that up as well. And it's something so small, but it feels really good to do. And it also shows you so many other options and dishes that you never would have had access to before.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, Freja mentioned something that we often chat about outside of this podcast, which is thrifting, which is a very big culture here in Lund. Can you guys talk a little bit about the thrifting culture and maybe even share if you've had like a best find or a favorite find?
So I live in Vildanden, and the biggest second-hand shop in Lund is close to Vildanden, which is Erik Schalpen. So it's like one of my go-to place. Sometimes I just go there and roam around. But then I also want to share it's not a discovery a vintage shop, I would say. So previous summer, I went into Landskrona, and me and my friends went into Landskrona Castle, and then we saw a vintage shop inside the castle, and it was so Instagrammable. It was so artistic, and then we also saw the Dalahorse, the Swedish Dalahorse there, and I got to know the story and everything. And yeah, I really feel like almost all the vintage shop here in Lund and closer to Lund are really artistic and really nice. So yeah.
I think so. I think it's also something that I've been enjoying. Something I hadn't done before coming to Sweden is going out thrifting, checking thrift shops, checking Erikshjälpen, which is in Vildanden. The Vildanden area, it's really nice and it's huge. And there's so many of them. And the prices are lower, the quality is great, and you find some great things. And another place that is really good where I found a lot of things for my house, as well as my apartment, that I have everything inside. The furniture has been either found secondhand, found in the green room, or gifted to us, but it was always secondhand. And also, we also bought it secondhand from something called Facebook Marketplace, which here works very well, works a lot. And one big find that I think I had is when I first arrived, I think 2021, so it's been 5 years, my bike, I bought it for 200 crowns, so 20 euros, $20. And it still works, and it's still going strong, and I still have it.
That is an excellent find, Fabio.
Not stolen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super fun. And it's as you say, there's a lot of them here, and they're well stocked, and it's not just clothes, it's not just furniture, it's everything and everything you might need in your daily life. My personal best thrift find is I went to the big Erikshjälpen close to Vildanden, and they have a whole sports section, which I didn't know, and I had a lot of fun in there, and I found a pair of brand new ice skates for 150 Swedish kroner, which is a steal, and super fun because now I can go ice skating on the weekends during the winter in a pair of brand new skates that's probably never been used before. So you can find some really good fun stuff that might sort of just make life a little bit more fun, sort of a weekend activity or sports equipment or something like that, and you don't have to break the bank to be able to enjoy it.
On that topic, with the ice skates, we also have a fritidsbanken, so it's a everyday life bank, I guess, to translate it very poorly, but you can just they have games, they have sports equipment, and you can just take it for free and bring it back, of course. But so that's a really, really nice thing, and you have that in multiple cities in Sweden. So I think that also kind of shows the vibe that you trust the people to bring it back, but you also they will repair it if something breaks, and it's not a big drama. So I think that's also a really cool thing that I have not seen in any other country.
Yeah, we have a lot of those sort of, I don't want to call them recycling centers, but we also have something called the Circle Center where students can come and they can check out a bedding package. So if you're only coming for 6 months or a year, it's a lot to buy sheets and pillows and pillowcases and a duvet. And it's quite wasteful because you're not going to bring that home to your home country with you. So they're even at arrival day to help you out, and you can check out for 200 crowns. You can rent this whole package for a year. And I just remember landing and thinking, that is insane. That is such a good deal.
Exactly.
My favorite thrift find for the longest time was like a full red, white, and blue snowsuit from the 80s that I got for 100 crowns in Malmö. And then last month I found salt and pepper shakers that are shaped like seals. It took first place. Outside of the many thrift stores that we have dotted around Lund, we are actually also quite lucky to have quite a bit of nature surrounding the city as well. So it's dotted around in between the buildings and in between the housing. Have you felt that you've been able to access nature more since moving here, or you feel more connected to it? How has that been going as a student in Lund?
I think it's just really nice to be able to go for a sunset walk I live near like the one little hill that we have in Lund.
Go Skåne.
If you know what, there is no hills in Skåne, but it's like a couple meters high. You can see the sunset, and just really nice outside of studying to just like clear the mind in the evening, or I don't know, sit in the botanical garden and read, or just sit there with your friends in the evenings. And there's also many in like the student life is centered a lot about gathering and parks. So for big days like Valborg or other things, but also just with your friends, you just gather in a park, and it's just like a nice environment to be in, I think.
Definitely, but the botanical garden is such a good example of that. It's probably my favorite park in Lund. It's lovely, and it has really nice sort of seasonal value as well, because they keep having seasonal flowers, so they change it out, so it's always looking new in some way. But my favorite thing is that it has Wi-Fi inside, so you can actually go and study there, which is something I have done. I wouldn't say bringing a laptop outside is the best thing, but it does work, and it has Wi-Fi, and I see a lot of students utilize it and go and sit outside to study, which I think is a lovely thing to do. The parks are definitely good. I also enjoy that Lund is so small that you can easily move outside of the city center relatively quickly, even on foot or on bike or by a bus. So you can go to the sea within like 20 minutes with a bus. You can go on a walk and actually find like a water repertoire or like a half a forest kind of thing if you want to just take a walk for 25 minutes, and you will be outside the city center in nature, which I don't think you should take for granted. I think that's really lovely that you can do.
Yeah. I think 70% of Swedish land is also forest. So yeah, we have a lot. I mean, here we have a lot of forest, so it's also nice. And hiking, like doing hiking and go to the beach, like everything is like accessible. So you can do a weekend trip like easily. Yeah, that's what something I really like about Sweden. And also like it's not only that student life is all about partying and we just do that. It's not like that. So sometimes like some weekend we also like love to close to the nature and like
Exactly, and even the city itself, I think it's very green in the city center, in the streets, in the campus area. It's not, you don't have to even go too far to even feel feel close to nature, feel close to greenery. And that's one thing that I really liked, and I feel like it's very different compared to other cities or bigger cities, or even around Europe.
It's always nice to kind of watch Lund through the seasons. For example, right now it's spring, so everything is covered in tiny little flowers, like little blue flowers everywhere. Even on the days that it does snow in the winter, it's like the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen, and you really appreciate it on a different level. I love the botanical gardens specifically because sometimes in the winter, you know, the sun sets pretty early, it starts feeling a little dead, but the first sunny day in spring, it doesn't have to be warm, it has to be sunny. The entirety of the botanical gardens is just covered in picnic blankets and kubo, which is like a Swedish lawn game, and everybody's out enjoying themselves, even when it's freezing cold, just to enjoy the sun together. And so I think that's kind of a show of the appreciation of Swedish nature around here. Something else that you guys had mentioned earlier was the bike culture. Do you all own a bike now?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I asked because I never bought a bike. I know. I took up walking. I know.
I was just about to say the same thing.
You never bought a bike?
It's a shame that I don't know how to ride a bicycle. So yes, but I am a big fan of public transport in Sweden. I feel like it's affordable, it's easily accessible, and I use every day a lot. And the best part is we can charge our phone or gadgets in all of those buses. So yeah, I use public transport, but not biking, which is a shame, but yeah.
And talking about bike, I know I said I had this bike that I had for 5 years, but actually And I still have it. But actually, these 3 weeks, starting from yesterday, literally, I had the opportunity to get an electric bike from Lund's Kommun for free. And everyone has that opportunity who lives in Lund, which is something great that I think not many people know, which I'm going to share now.
None of us know. We're all looking at you like, spill the beans, Fabio.
So you go on their website, and I don't remember how I did it, but definitely on their website you look for renting an electric bike, and you get an electric bike for 3 weeks, completely for free, to be able to try out and test whether you like biking or not. Or the actual idea is for you to bike to work instead of taking other less sustainable means. So it's mostly made for people who need to travel longer distances, but it's open for anyone, even students.
Can we lend it for like practicing purpose?
How to ride bicycles. My turn to plug something. Something that I love about Lund is they're very supportive of the international students that do come to study here. And one of those is, I think it's the Red Cross, but they actually offer free bike lessons to internationals that are moving here. Yeah. Especially because there are more bikes than cars in downtown Lund. And it's kind of like a well-known fact, especially for the first couple weeks when the international students are getting here for the first time, that you give them some grace because it might be their first time biking on the roads and we might not know all of the rules. So that is also available online if you're interested, Freja.
Yeah, I guess it's for me.
Yeah.
I am talking about bikes. I want to also say there is something called Bike Kitchen, which is another great organization where you can even fix your bikes for free if you do have a bike. Wow. So even more sustainable. You don't even have to, if it breaks, you don't have to go and buy something new. You go to this place and there's volunteers who help you out to fix it for free.
Just out of curiosity, Fabio, were you as passionate about bikes before moving to Lund, or is this like a newfound love?
It definitely came with me coming to Lund.
As far as public transport, that is another option here. But Lund itself is a very compact and walkable city. So have you found that that's kind of changed the way you guys plan your days? Because for me back home, of course, I would have to drive to a bus stop and then take a bus to my school, or I would have to be able to afford to live very close to campus and very far away from the center of city. But Lund is kind of just interspersed with university buildings and downtown. So how do your days look when it comes to walking and biking and taking the bus?
I think it's really nice because I always say when friends come visit that it's like, yeah, so Lund is not really a town, it's just like the university and that's the town. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's always very surprising that it just takes me 5 minutes to get to uni with the bike. And then in winter when it snows, I started walking because it also just takes 20 minutes. And 20 minutes is really a time that you can spare in a day, kind of to walk. Even though I don't live in the city center anymore. So it's like, even if you don't live in the city center, you will still make it where you need to be in a very, very reasonable time on foot, on bike. And yes, people also bike in the winter, which is crazy, and I'm almost fell, so beware. So yeah, I switched to walking when it's very icy. If there's just snow and I'm sure there's no ice underneath, I will bike, but yeah, that's kind of the situation. So it's very, very nice that you can really walk anywhere.
I'm kind of the same. I live in the city center now. And again, like in Denmark, I used to bike every day to university. So I brought my bike here as the good Dane that I am. I thought, okay, I'm going to use it loads because I know that Lund is a very bikeable city. But actually, I never use it because I live so close to everything that I don't ever feel the need to sort of bring it out. I enjoy that sort of 15-minute daily walk that I have every day, sort of my downtime until I get to where I need to be. And it's very rare that I need to go anywhere further than that unless it's like to a different town. And so I just sort of like going through the city. It's such a beautiful old city, so that it's not really a boring walk or an ugly walk. It's always sort of a nice experience just to see it from foot. And again, it's sort of designed for bikes and for pedestrians more than cars. And so there's way more nice sort of trails or paths that you can take, especially through the old town and the old part of the university campus, which is where my campus is also located. So I just get to see the pretty sights and sort of take a breather for 15 minutes.
And some fun facts are like, if you're walking in a road, you are basically the king of the road. Like it's the other way around, because in other countries, like maybe the car drivers are like, no, I mean, people should wait for us. But no, here, like every car will stop, like if you decide to like just pass the road. And also, I kind of like feel like people here are really fit, like effortlessly, maybe because of all the walking we do. So yes, that can.
I have one more anecdote. Every time I'm in Germany, I say to my friends, this traffic light would have turned green in Lund by now. Because I think that is my favorite thing in Lund when biking. The traffic lights will turn green once you even are in like the vicinity of that traffic light.
Exactly.
So I think it's very, very nice that you can see you're a priority.
Exactly. I feel so powerful that yes, I'm walking. You need to wait for me. Just like passing, but yeah.
My friends and I also have a love-hate relationship when I'm home because now my mindset is completely shifted where I'm like, oh, come on, it's like a 35-minute walk. It's nothing. And they're like, are you kidding me? It's a 4-minute drive, Meg. We're not walking. Yeah. And of course, it's much less pretty than walking through Lund. I have too many photos of the cathedral on my phone from every single walk to class. You just can't stop at a certain point. Just out of curiosity, beyond just the sustainability aspect, are there any other aspects that stood out for you from your home universities to coming here or from your home studies that are quite different being in Lund?
Well, a lot of things are different for me, but then one of the positive thing is that I love how informal the relationship can be with your professor or superior, basically. Suppose like if you are attending an academic related event, and then maybe like that day also, like 3 days ago, I attended a LU Infect Day event, and then there was like virology department director, and he was like so interested about my thesis, like what you were doing, and I was like, I mean, I am doing like a tiny research project, but I feel so powerful, like, oh my God, he's so interested in my work. So it's kind of like, yeah, as a student, you would also feel like good that, yes, I mean, you are doing something, people are like showing interest. And if it's like kind of a little bit informal, then you feel like more free to talk about your thoughts and everything with them. So, which is different. And another different thing is, in our courses, we have like seminar, which is like held by student. So there is no teacher, but then it's just only the student who are discussing like one topic. And all the students are from like different countries. They have like different kind of background, thought process and everything. So it's also good to learn from your classmates and yeah.
One thing that really stayed with me and still that I really enjoy about Lund University is the amount of opportunities you have here in Lund. There is everything for anyone, for every passion you have, for every interest you have. There's so much support from the uni, from the whole ecosystem here, the whole like student organization. There is a student organization for anything they're interested in. Are you interested in AI? There is one. Repairing bikes, bike kitchen, foreign affairs, there is UPF. You know, there is so much with that, and student organizations are at the center of student life, and they support you, and you can build upon your interests so much. And even outside of all the like student led organizations, there's actually the whole university, the municipality, and many organizations around who support you. Like where I work now, where we have a startup incubator, and any student can literally just come in and say, I have this idea, can you help me out and build it? And yes, we're gonna be there completely for free, helping you out to build it. And it's just things like this that makes it so exciting, because it's really like any dream can come true. If you have a vision, if you have an idea, I think there's someone out there who can help you out to bring it forward here in Lund, and usually for free.
I think also what is great is that there's a big point on like integration and feeling that you're safe in your study environment, for example. So we have like student safety officers, and it's just not about like the also physical safety, like that you have everything you need in your faculty, but there's also if you feel discriminated against, or if you feel like there's something, you need help with something, or you don't feel safe in your environment, we have student representatives for that, we have teacher representatives for that you can, like, there's always somebody to talk to if you're not feeling well. And I think I have not heard that from that many other universities or from friends that they know something like that exists at their university, but I feel like most of the people here know that you can go talk to somebody about very specific things.
There really is kind of like that unspoken sense of community and trust throughout Sweden, and especially in Lund. Like, you recycle and you know that your neighbors are recycling too. Yeah. And if they're not, you're going to get a very angry email from your association. You know, leave your wallet on the bus and you don't have that sinking fear because you know likely you're going to get it back. And I think that permeates through the sustainability aspect, it permeates through the classes. So it's nice to hear that you all have had similar experiences with that.
Yeah.
Something that we were discussing that I think is quite interesting to touch on, especially with you, Leonie, we have quite strong student unions here. What has been your experience with student involvement in shaping sustainability policy here at Lund?
Yeah, we did a podcast about that, so you can also go have a look and learn it, but about the student organizations. But yeah, I think it's very, very easy to get involved in Lund for student organizations. We have ones for a program, so I'm also was in the board of our Biomedicine Education Council, and we have student representatives in meetings with the faculty, and then we also have every faculty has their own student organization who is also talking as a whole in Lund, but also about very, very specific things about your program. So there needs to always be like a student present in meetings where they decide things about the university. For example, about the vice president that was or is being elected at the moment. You have a lot of student voices at the table. And I think that's a great thing about sustainability. If you have a student at the table, they can share their perspective and they will have a different perspective than maybe the people that are the other deciding people. So all in all, we have a big hierarchy in Lund that we have students at every position to talk about their opinion and what is important to us and our values. For example, there being, I don't know, safety and integration and diversity and feeling that everybody is included.
Yeah. And you don't even need to be a committee member, or I mean, you can be a normal student, and then after every course there is also course evaluation report, where you can put your own thoughts, which can they can use it to improve the course, and it will help the future batch. So I mean, you can just contribute. I mean, you don't need to be even a committee member or something. So here student voice or thoughts really matter in Lund, I would say.
Yeah. And of course, student unions, you are very heavily involved, which is amazing. But for you guys, maybe we could also touch on a little bit your classrooms and your academics themselves, because I think sustainability touches you on that level too. Do you have any examples of how that showed up maybe in the classroom environment?
Yeah, so I think, it's something that Lund University is very aware of, and I think they're very good at voicing it as well. I don't remember my previous university being so vocal about sustainability in newsletters, on social media, just in anything that we're involved with. It sort of goes beyond the borders of just our sustainable programs, which I wasn't used to before. So it's really interesting to hear more about it also, because I'm in a field that doesn't really touch upon sustainability in that sense. Although it kind of does, because I had to think about this, and actually it's not uncommon to do sort of sustainable topics or theories within literature now. It definitely are sort of more contemporary theories that we bring up, but I wouldn't say it's one of the main focus areas of my degree usually. But at Lund, I've actually had the pleasure of doing quite a lot of it. We've touched upon blue humanities, we've done a lot of stuff within Anthropocene, which is sort of a hybrid theory that also goes together with geology, and just a bunch of other things. And again, you sort of have to touch a little bit upon it when you do literature studies, but not necessarily as much as we do in Lund, which is really interesting, because they could just get away with doing a really classical literature degree, but they don't. They bring in these really contemporary, some of them quite new theories that are still developing, and that even our field is not synonymous on yet, if it's a legit theory or not, but we sort of explore it and read blue humanities works of text or whatever. So it's really interesting, and I find it quite forward-thinking in a sense, and it just sort of naturally fits in. It's not something that's really discussed, but it just sort of makes sense to do it here at Lund, because it's in every conversation, in every decision that's made at the university. It has to be a part of it, sustainability and nature. And so it's really interesting to also get to do it within my degree, I feel like.
It's also very interesting because I wouldn't say that biomedicine is a super, like, you wouldn't say, oh, this is sustainability. But then in all our assignments, we have to talk about the sustainable development goals from the UN and kind of, okay, how would this project that I'm suggesting hypothetically to do, that I should do, how does that fit with those goals, and what is the benefit for the society? And also, oh, how can I reduce the lab waste in this project? Or
Exactly. I was just about to say that you can like feel with me, because the amount of like plastic we use and then we throw is like insane in the lab. So I was like that. I was thinking like, I hope that they like reused it and recycled it. So yes, I mean, and they did.
yeah, but also thinking about, oh, how can we reduce the number of animals needed for experiment? It's like you can find a sustainability aspect also in this area that we study it, and it is brought into our assignments. So it's like an active part of the curriculum to think about sustainability, even in a program that has formally nothing to do with sustainability.
Yeah, they find ways to sneak things in for you. And I had a similar experience. I studied applied cultural analysis, and we started talking about the more than human aspects of daily life. So yeah, we're focused on Swedish bus culture. When are you allowed to sit down next to somebody, and when should you really not? But then you don't even think about all of the other actors at play on the bus. There's a dog there, like there's germs on the thing. There's so much to think about that go into the environments that you're in. And I think our programs all kind of force us to think about them. Moving on a little bit, just thinking about your future. Now, Fabio and I have graduated and we're working now, thank God. But as far as your future, do you feel that studying at such a sustainability-focused university has affected your future plans at all, your academic interest or career-wise?
Yeah, I think it has affected the way I approach questions when in my workplace, I would say too. In like, I think Lund University is very research focused, and at least in my course, there was so much critical like analysis of things. You always saw things, you really thought through things, and you saw it always from a different perspective, and it enabled you to think critically about things. And so that becomes really important when you speak about sustainability. Like a lot of times, sustainability can also be just greenwashing, right? And I think in that case, I think what Lund University taught me is to be critical and understand what is this. If this, for example, company says they're sustainable, what does it actually mean? And so that's what I bring also now in my work, is that element of critical thinking that Lund University gave me and made me able to understand, okay, if I make this decision at work, it affects this amount of people, and how does it affect them from a sustainable point of view also, to always incorporate it. Then it's, in a way, it's also up to the single individual, how conscious they are when they make these decisions. But to me, I think it had a strong impact in making me more conscious and more aware of what is going on, because there's so much talk, as we said before, on in the programs. There is a lot of focus always on, there's a sustainable aspect when we study as well.
Definitely. I mean, again, it doesn't have much to do with my degree at its base level, but I think you're right. There's just a sort of awareness of it. And I definitely feel that more now that I've been at Lund University for 2 years. It's just sort of a more natural part of any conversation and any sort of work that I look into. It just sort of is at the back of my mind. I also think that just because Lund University is so, again, aware of it, and they talk about it so much, and we're very proud that we've been lucky enough to rank sort of at the top of that list. That is also something that I'm now very aware of, that I want to look for in future job conversations or just in my daily life as well, that it is important and it is something that can be bettered. And I think Lund is sort of the perfect example of that. So it's just interesting that, yeah, it's by allowing it to have such a natural place in any conversation and in all the work that we do, no matter if it's sustainability focused or not. And literature degree is not inherently sustainability focused, but it sort of becomes when you just have it as a natural part of the university environment that you're in. So I think that's super neat.
I think it's such an interesting experience as an international student, especially those of us that are not from Northern Europe, where you guys are quite sustainability focused. Yeah. The sort of reflection that it forces you to do. Like now when I go home and I visit my grandma and I see her throwing glass and like meat and everything into one trash compactor, I like physically cringe. It like makes me uncomfortable to see because I'm thinking of all the ways that I would sort it. Or now as I watch, TikTok or online and everybody's going through all of these trends and we were on Stanley Cups, which is a water bottle. I have had this water bottle that I brought with me when I moved here 3 years ago. And it's wobbly, but it's still going. And I couldn't imagine replacing it now because it's so wasteful. To have a trend for a sustainable thing, a water bottle,
exactly.
a reusable water bottle. And so I think it kind of makes you sit back as an international sometimes and rethink everything that you have grown up with and been taught. And especially for those of us that do go back home and do talk with our friends and family, I think that Lund University, our focus on sustainability tends to spread through the internationals that study here, which I think is so special. Final question. What advice would you give to future international students who want to start living sustainably from day one at Lund?
My biggest one, and something we've already talked about today, is learn how to thrift and learn to enjoy it, because it's going to be your biggest help when you move here, especially if you're coming for just a semester or maybe a year. Because as we said, you have to acquire all of these daily life things that you don't think that you need in your life until you don't have them and you're staying behind with 1 or 2 suitcases. And also because it's a fun part of life here. It's something that young people really enjoy to do. It's something that a lot of them do. There's a lot of thrift stores in Lund. There's a lot of thrift stores in Malmö, which is a bit of a bigger city, just 15 minutes outside of Lund. There's a lot of thrift stores in Copenhagen, which is the Danish capital, just an hour away on train. And so a lot of times when you do sort of an excursion with friends, you will end up at a thrift store somehow. And it's a super neat way to sort of socialize and also to, freshen up your wardrobe or bring something home to your house and you're on a student budget and maybe you don't want to buy everything new. So I think that's sort of an easy way to learn how to think a bit more sustainably. And it's fun in shopping, but it's a great way to do it.
I was going to say, we haven't even touched upon this so far now in the talk, but meal prepping and meal boxes.
Yeah.
Buy lunch boxes, a lot of them. Yeah. Because, we all take our lunchbox to school, put it in the fridge, and then go to the microwave room, microwave our food, and have our lunch together. Yeah. That is how the Lund student lives their life. So I think my advice would be to learn how to cook, and you don't know yet, and have a lot of lunch boxes that you buy maybe on that first day that you arrive to Lund, and start using now.
Yeah. It's so funny. We had a study in my course where they were talking about why microwave sales that had done so well in Sweden did awful in Spain. And it was because the Swedes have this culture of bringing their lunch and warming it up. And like in our buildings, there are literal rooms with 20 microwaves. Yeah. That's a culture shock.
I also feel like you don't really necessarily need to be like super serious about sustainability, because Lund will make you more sustainable without even your realization. That's the thing. So, but I feel like as a new student, you should just try to save your money, because if you are trying to save your money, you will like eat less like restaurant food, and you will make your own food. You will like waste less food, and then you will do a lot of thrift shopping. So yeah, I just feel like just do it like not necessarily need to be like doing it for a like better purpose or like environment or like whatever. Just think about yourself. Just like follow all the rules and regulation, because like if you are throwing your trash like in a certain way, then you are certain sustainable anyway. So I mean, it's just like just follow all the rules. Just try to save your money. Just think about yourself. Then you will be more sustainable, and Lund will make you sustainable. Like you don't need to try actually.
100%. On that, Lund will make you more sustainable, I think, naturally. And on that point, I think my advice then would be to actually bring all of this with you, even after your studies. And so that makes me think, especially things like thrifting. Yes, it's very sustainable, of course. It's one of the most sustainable things you can do. But why do we do it as students in Lund? Mostly because it's cheap, right? And so, but the question is then, it's cheap and it's sustainable. But once then you later on, when you do leave Lund, probably, or you stay and you do get a job, and then you'll have the possibility not to thrift because you'll have the money to buy something new, well, then at that point, start thinking about what you did when you were at Lund University and go thrifting, because it is, like, that is a more sustainable choice, and that is just and it's still fun. We don't have to do it only because it's cheap. I think that's why it stays with you. So that's my advice, to keep all these things even after you're done with your studies.
Look at your Lund University degree making you introspective and self-critical. We'd love to see it. Thank you so much for answering my questions. I think I'll end it here. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining us today. You were excellent. And thank you to everybody in the audience for coming as well. It was great to have you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.